Today we're trying nearly 100 years of McDonald's to find out how the food has changed and if it's worth your money today. Starting with the 1940s. When McDonald's first opened its doors, this wasn't the golden arches that we know of today because it started out as McDonald's Barbecue. So it was a full car hop service with servers would dress like this and come to your car to take your order. And these were the two brothers behind it all, Richard and Maurice McDonald's. Just take a look at their menu. The cheapest item at the time was a 5-cent coffee, and the most expensive barbecue plate you would get would only set you back 60 cents. So this would be a typical plate you get at a McDonald's barbecue back in the day. Real cuts of meat, served fresh, and they were serving potato chips instead of fries. But here's where things get interesting. In 1948, the brothers realized that hamburgers accounted for 80% of their business. So they made a decision to just focus on hamburgers and created something called the Speedy Service System, which was basically an assembly line for burgers. They even had this creepy looking mascot that had a hamburger for a head. So from a 25-item menu, McDonald's now simplified their menu to just 9 items. Hamburgers, cheeseburger, french fries, milk, root beer, orangeade, Coca-Cola, coffee, and milkshakes. This was the birth of modern fast food. Then in 1954, a man came in that would later change all of that. A milkshake machine salesman named Ray Kroc walked in the doors and saw how fast they were churning out burgers and immediately smelled opportunity. So he negotiated with the McDonald's brothers to open his own franchise to sell his own McDonald's hamburgers.
Franchise the damn thing. It's too damn good for just one location. There should be McDonald's everywhere.
So a McDonald's hamburger in the 1950s looked a little bit like this. It has a 100% beef patty, a bun, some American cheese, some dill pickle slices, and some ketchup and mustard.
And they still had their fries fried in beef tallow. A quality pure beef burger would cost you around 15 cents. If you wanted cheese with that, it would cost you 19 cents, and french fries were only 10 cents. Affordable and simple ingredients, right? But in the 1960s, that's when McDonald's transformed forever. From a small local chain with a simple menu to an aggressively expanding corporate machine. So in 1961, he was so frustrated with the restrictions that McDonald brothers had placed on his franchise operations because they wanted to keep it small, he decided to buy them out. He bought the whole McDonald's brand for $2.7 million, which is about $28.6 million in today's money. So immediately after buying the company, right, Kroc started making changes. He started implementing policies and projected a more family-friendly image, and they banned jukeboxes and cigarette machines. And with all the new people that would come into the brand, the new franchise owners, the McDonald's brand started to expand. So with more franchise owners, that also meant more ideas. For example, the Filet-O-Fish sandwich, my favorite sandwich, was created by a franchise owner named Luke Brown. I made a whole video on this, and the history of it is quite interesting, so be sure to check that out after this video. Another franchise owner created the iconic Big Mac.
So a Filet-O-Fish like this at the time was sold for around 24 cents. And a Big Mac like this would cost 45 cents, which was twice the cost of a hamburger.
This was also the decade that gave us Ronald McDonald. A franchise owner named Willard Scott wanted to dress up as a clown to attract more families to his restaurant. This is what he looked like.
I like to do everything boys and girls like to do, especially when it comes to eating those delicious McDonald's hamburgers. McDonald's Drive-In Restaurant is his favorite place in town.
I don't know about you, but this would have scared the crap out of me. But here's what's important. Even though McDonald's was aggressively expanding, the core message was still advertised as affordability. They even had a whole ad saying that an entire nuclear family could eat at McDonald's for under $2. And in order to do this, Kroc had to get rid of all the non-essential items. Kroc famously said that you can't eat a 20% tip, so he got rid of that. Basically, anything that wasn't edible was out the door for him. The only goal here was serving food quickly and cheaply. But this focus on low prices would require some sacrifices. Sacrifices we'd see playing out over the coming decades. So rolling into the 1970s, McDonald's was dominating lunch and dinner items, but they thought, why stop there? Well, why not do breakfast as well? So as a result, they came out with the Egg McMuffin, which was released in 1972, selling for about 63 cents. The complete breakfast menu would later be added in 1977, and that had the Egg McMuffin, pancakes, sausage, toasted English muffins, scrambled eggs, hash browns, and danishes. But the real game changer was the creation of the Happy Meal. This really got families through the door.
Your kids will love McDonald's Happy Meal. It's food and fun in a box.
They drew inspiration from like cereal boxes with toys inside. McDonald's created the thing called the Circus Wagon Happy Meal, which was a hamburger, small fry, soft drink, McDonald's Land cookies, a small toy for a low price of $1.10. So the first Happy Meal was actually launched in connection with the first Star Trek movie in 1979, where they had one of the characters to tell parents to bring their kids to McDonald's for a Star Trek meal.
McDonald's Star-Log. These are the vehicles of McDonald's Star Trek meal. Inside, a regular hamburger, fries, soft drink, a McDonald's Land cookie sampler, and a Star Trek prize. McDonald's Star Trek meal.
So during this era in the 70s, the prices were still reasonable. Big Macs were under $1, fries were a few cents. You could still feed your family without hurting your wallet, but change was quickly coming. The 1980s was an exciting decade because that's when the chicken nuggets were born. And with that came a whole new era of processed food.
A 10-piece order of these chicken nuggets cost around $1.99 at the time. Kind of varied depending on the location. I did find this one ad that said they were selling a 11-pack for $3.69.
They even had their own little cute mascots called McNugget Buddies, complete with interchangeable clothes and one limited edition gold nugget. Kind of want to buy that. They came with 4 sauces: honey, sweet and sour sauce, hot mustard, barbecue. Today there's over 25, but personally I still think sweet and sour is the best. When chicken nuggets first started, they were mainly a mixture of dark and white chicken meat, and for a while they had chicken skin in it as well. Today the process has become more automated, and they focus mainly on chicken breast meat, white meat. But the thing is, by processing meat like this, it was up to anyone's guess to what they put in the food, right? You would have to trust McDonald's. This wasn't the only item on the menu that did this. We can't talk about the 1980s without mentioning the elusive McRib. Due to a chicken shortage around the time, McDonald's feared a run on their chicken McNuggets, so the McRib was born. It was marketed as a barbecue in a bun, a slight nod to their roots, I guess. And when it first released, it was $1.69. But as delicious as these things are, you can see how we've shifted into a more processed meat territory, from whole cuts of barbecue meats in the 1940s to ground up who knows what in the 1980s. This new restructured meat technology meant that McDonald's could technically use less expensive cuts and trimmings. Did they do that though? Maybe. Maybe not, but since their core value was affordability, this created some wiggle room to allow them to keep serving their customers cheaply. Moving on to the 1990s, the US experienced an economic downturn, but since McDonald's was still trying to get customers through the door, they released something called the extra value meals.
Welcome to McDonald's. What do you want with your fries?
Whether you want the big beefy quarter pounder with cheese with your world famous fries, or the one-of-a-kind taste of McDonald's Big Mac, add a Coke Classic and what you get is the extra value meal. So what's it gonna be?
And this kind of helped them optimize their profits to compete with other fast food chains at the time that were slashing their prices. But unfortunately for McDonald's, the economic downturn also coincided with a health craze where Americans focused on eating healthier. So an example that would be McDonald's responding to the public health concerns of frying their fries in beef tallow, so they switched over to vegetable oil. Fun fact, McDonald's stock fell 8.3% after that announcement because people noticed the taste immediately. And this kind of put McDonald's in a tough spot because people wanted food cheaper, but they wanted to eat healthier, and burgers and fries didn't exactly fit that criteria. So this led them to experimenting, right? They tested everything from McSpaghetti to McLean Deluxe as a healthier burger, chicken fajita, they even tried pizza, but most of them failed. Funny thing, the only notable thing that survived this period would be a dessert item called the McFlurry. It was invented by a Canadian franchise owner in 1995, and it later arrived in the United States in 1997 for $1.99. Moving on to the 2000s, they came out with the dollar menu, offering things like McChicken or fries for just $1. Even Donald Trump made a cameo in one of their ads advertising the menu. But the 2000s wasn't easier for McDonald's as well because people continued to be health conscious, and especially after the film Super Size Me came out, showing what happens if somebody ate McDonald's for like a month, sales continued to drop. And by March of 2003, the shares were down 70% from their November 1999 peak. So McDonald's continued to experiment, right? They released things like salad shakers, fruit and yogurt parfaits to seem healthier, but customers weren't really biting. And since they were trying to give customers more reasons to visit a McDonald's, they launched the McCafe, which meant that customers can now enjoy coffee, tea, pastries, and desserts at select McDonald's. And throughout the years, they continued to focus on affordability, convenience, and expanding their menu, like snack wraps that was recently brought back. And when it first launched, it was $1.50. Oh, and this was also the decade where they had the famous jingle, "I'm loving it."
McDonald's. I'm loving it.
And the whole point of that was to try to re-engage with the customers and try to make McDonald's a happy place like it once was again.
So McDonald's continued to find ways to attract new customers, cut costs, and try to remain affordable to most people. But with that means that if they wanted to keep the price the same, they would have to sometimes sacrifice quality or even portion sizes, or else the price is just gonna have to go up, which I think is what we're starting to see here. So with everything I just ate, let's tally up the price and see how much things cost today compared to when they first launched.
So I've compiled a list of prices, and it's kind of important to note that McDonald's prices kind of vary depending on location, so take this with a grain of salt. If we take a look at the sum of the prices per each decade, it comes out to just under $10, which might seem very little, but let's adjust for inflation. Taking each year and adjusting each one of those prices for 2025 inflation, the sum should come out to around $38 in today's money. But if we look at the actual prices in 2025, it's actually closer to $50, a 26% increase, which can seem like a lot. But honestly, I think McDonald's has done a really good job trying to keep everything affordable, but it's definitely not cheap anymore. And the main issue really is that wages hasn't really increased throughout the years. So no matter how much McDonald's tries to push the price down, sooner or later it's gonna catch up to what everything costs. So is it still cheap and affordable like they set out to be? No, not really, but is it worth the price? Where else am I gonna get my chicken nuggets?
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.